our keynote with Elizabeth Povinelli. So we had thought about the structure of this symposium as something that would start at the beginning of the day and that would go through the day and then that will open at the end of the day as an open forum to have discussion and exchange and comments on everything that happened during the day. But we've realized when we did the session this morning that a lot of people would prefer to react on the spot. And we've been reorganizing so that could happen, even though we will keep the forum at the end of the day. So we would like to also remind that for us it's very important to have this discussion and exchange with whoever is coming to be part of this program, because it's not just a one-voice thing, but it's really important that whoever would like to take the mic takes the mic, and whoever would like to share an idea shares it, and whoever who would like to comment on something can do it. So we came back now for the afternoon session with this panel that will be moderated by Marina Fokidis, and that will be around the forms of collectives and different aesthetics that are developed into the work of artist collectives. My colleague Dulcie will introduce the panel more broadly, and I hope we will have a nice time all together and beautiful, fruitful exchange with all of our panelists and Marina. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Marie-Hélène. So this afternoon panel is thinking about the structures and the shapes that emerge from collectives in the work that they do, but also the way that they organize themselves. So the question, and we're really not sure where it's going to go, is are there different aesthetic principles that are emerging out of collective artistic practice today? And can these be, can we start to examine these? Can we learn from them? Can we share them? What forms, shapes, and structures are being created from collectives today? This is what this panel is all about. So we have Marina Fokidis, who's going to be moderating. So I'll begin by reading her biography. She's a curator and writer based in Athens. In 2014, she was appointed head of the artistic office in Athens and curatorial advisor for Documenta 14. She's the founder of Kunsthalle Athena, and founding director and editor-in-chief of South as a State of Mind, an arts and culture magazine. In 2011, Fokidis was one of the curators of the third Thessaloniki Biennale of Contemporary Art. She was also commissioner and curator of the Greek Pavilion at the 51st Biennale de Venezia, and one of the curators of the Tirana International Contemporary Art Biennale. She was an adjunct curator at the art space Pythagorean Schwartz Foundation, where she curated solo shows with newly commissioned works by Slavs and Tatars and Nevin Aladag. From 2001 to 2008, she served as co-director of Oxymoron, a non-profit organization in Athens dedicated to the promotion of contemporary visual art in Greece on an international level. Okay. Oh, thank you for letting me try, and I'm sorry if I got any wrong. So I'm now going to read the biographies, not of the individual speakers who are here, although I will give you their names, but of the collectives that they're part of. And I'm doing this also because the focus of their presentations is going to be in response to the theme of the panel. In the catalogue for DAS, there's lots of information about each collective, so you can find out that kind of factual, bibliographical stuff in there, and we really wanted to get to the crux of the issue as quickly as possible here. So, the first person to be speaking is Taslima Akhter from Pathshala, from Dhaka, Bangladesh. The name Pathshala comes from the ancient education system that prevailed in South Asia. It brings to mind classes held underneath a lofty tree, conjuring up learning spaces without walls, open skies, and unending horizons. Pathshala not only allows students to explore the world of visual storytelling, but gives them the knowledge and opportunity to question beyond the confines of discipline and the scope to think outside the box. The conceptual absence of a classroom enables students not only to attend the same classes, but also to work together on collaborative projects together with the visiting faculty. This enhances and complements each student's learning experience on both theoretical and practical levels. Despite the wealth of media talent that exists in the region, not to mention its potpourri of cultural heritage, there is currently still a significant dearth of infrastructure for proper training in photography, television, and film. Although some very fine photographers and videographers have emerged in spite of this, they've all either settled overseas or work in overseas agencies, so their work isn't seen very much locally. A need for regional organization was acutely felt, particularly at a grassroots level. So in 1998, Pathshala started as an institute of photography with a particular emphasis on photojournalism. And in 2010, it became a fully fledged institute for visual storytelling by setting up a new department of broadcast and multimedia, and the school is now called the Pathshala South Asian Media Institute. Thank you for bearing with me. Next, we have Jatiwangi Art Factory from Indonesia, and it's Ismail Muntaha who's going to be presenting. So Jatiwangi Art Factory is a non-profit organization that focuses on discourses of local rural life through arts and cultural activities such as festivals, performances, visual art, music, video, ceramics, exhibitions, artists and residencies, monthly discussion, radio broadcast, and education. Their programs include the annual Village Video Festival, the biannual Jatiwangi Residency Festival, and the triennial Ceramic Music Festival. These invite artists and cultural practitioners from various disciplines and countries to live, interact, and work with the villagers in order to experience the livelihood of Jatiwangi's rural society. Finally, we have the Laboratoire Agit'Art from Dhaka, Senegal, represented by Pascal Nampemanla Traoré, who's here with us. And I will just read you a little about the Laboratoire. In 1974, along with late filmmaker Jabril Job Mambeti and a group of artists, writers, musicians, actors, and filmmakers, Issa Sam founded the Laboratoire Agit'Art. Its multidisciplinary actions were directed against the formalism of the École de Dakar, an object-centered movement developed at the National Art School of Dakar and shaped by Léopold Sédar Senghor's philosophy of négritude. Moving into experimentation and agitation, ephemerality rather than permanence, and political and social ideas rather than abstract aesthetic notions, the Laboratoire Agit'Art developed a distinct aesthetic of the social. Audience participation was paramount to the group's work, as was the privileging of communicative acts over physical objects. Neither utopian nor self-referential, it grounded its actions in the immediate socio-political situation. Today, many of the early members have passed away, but the group's spirit persists, materialized in the practice of those who walk in their footsteps. Thank you very much. I now hand over to you all, beginning with Marina, and I wish you a very happy and interesting panel.
Wow, thank you very much. It's, as you understand, an extreme honor to be among these wonderful people. And I send love and gratitude and thanks to Raw Material Company and to Dhaka Art Summit and all the coincidence and spirits that helped me to be in that table or non-table today. Since this morning, we've been hearing interesting things like notions around entitlement and agency came up on the table. I want to say that also I've been reading a bit the brief of the panel, and the word, a Greek word appears there, that it's called allelo, used by Raw Material, and allelo or allelo means a kind of a we that is one another, like between one another. There is no other, and there is no other. It's one another, and that's kind of very interesting. And there are different words that combine with this can create solidarity. For us, solidarity, for example, is allelegi. So I'm very glad that there is this Greek part, and also I want to use a Brazilian as well phrase, because that will help to somehow clear out some misunderstandings or not. But I heard it in Brazilian, there is no exactly translation, and it's kind of interesting to hear. And that's called lugar me fala. Is there anyone that speaks Brazilian Portuguese here? It means I'm speaking from my shoes, from my place. From my place doesn't mean my place here, because it's a new place for me, but from where I am feeling I belong to, or where I was transformed, from where I was transformed. So just bear with me. I'm speaking of a place, and it's not the cradle of Western civilization, despite the fact that the Enlightenment thought so. Greece has many other sites in it than just being this kind of, cradle. Already this morning I was hearing, or in the previous meeting, about a custom, an indigenous custom of broken ceramics, which is also a ancient Greek custom of broken ceramics as well, to call the dead ancestors. So it's a kind of Greek philosophy that has been washed. I won't say whitewashed because I'm white myself as well, but has been washed out by the Enlightenment from the situation. Now, we are about to hear a discussion on collectivity, collective forms, collective processes, and its entanglements, as we also heard about entanglements quite a lot. And I hope that we will also arrive to a point that we're gonna, if you listen to these amazing people well and carefully, to elevate from dichotomies to a kind of situated knowledges from the different places and its relations. And I think that's quite important, because dichotomy is coming back again and again and again to today's time. The old colonial, as we know, process of divide and rule is now prevailing all over the world. And I think what these people have to tell us, again, if we listen carefully, is that, and any collective is unite and be, which is something completely different. So this, of course, unite and be doesn't refer, I hope, or I'm sure, to any kind of global being, but more to a kind of a being in common. Not a common being, but being in common, as Jacques Nancy makes a kind of difference into that two different positions. Being in common means we're being with our voices in common. We're being through a kind of a invisible polyvocal collective, let's say, that we cannot even define. So, coexistence. Easier to talk about it than lived, but anyway, I hope that, I don't want to keep any more the floor because there are so many things to hear, but I hope that our relational energy in this little public sphere that we're making around this non-table will make us all feel better and more connected. Thank you. So we start by Taslima from Pathshala, the representative. And we are very happy to hear what you have to say.
Hello, everybody. I want to give special thanks to Dhaka Art Summit for inviting me here. I'm not a good speaker, but I will try to share some of my experience from my own experience and being a member of Pathshala. The term collective is very much important to me. And I think all of we are go through a struggle journey with the term individual and collective. I feel I was thinking when I was thinking how I can share our experience. So today I was thinking that how I can explain collective. Maybe in a way, maybe you can think you are in Dhaka city, which is a very crowded city. You are in a corner of a street, which street is crowded with 1,000 people, but you are there and you cannot express yourself properly. You cannot share your feelings properly. You have to suppress yourself. Then within 1,000 people, maybe you feel that you are alone. You are walking in a lonely way. Or maybe in an empty room, you can think about some of your friends, some of your partners, some of your ideas, some ideology that inspire you, that help you to make shape of your ideas. then within an empty room, maybe you will not feel that you are alone. For me, the collective and individual, the difference of collective and individual, I feel in this way. And I always feel strength from collective. So I think I am here because I came through a process of collective journey. So I want to share a few things about Pathshala. And already you have known about Pathshala. It's a photography school. And we started in 1988. That time, Shahidul Alam, maybe you know, the renowned international photographer who was in jail in 2018 for expressing his critical view about political situation. When he started Pathshala, that time he was the only teacher of Pathshala, and we have only 7 students. I'm mentioning that we have only 7 students. Shahidul started the Pathshala. That time he was alone, but we are the part of this history and journey, so I want to give emphasis on we. When Shahidul started, and when actually we started, that Shahidul was the only teacher, and that time we invited some guest lecturer, guest teacher from other countries, and they help us, Now we have 32 teachers at Pathshala and more than 75 students, sometimes more than 75, close to 100 students. And sometimes we do classes inside the room, sometimes we do classes outside the rooms. And there are now Pathshala has 32 teachers. They are from different corner of the country, but mostly they are involved with photography. And I think this is our strength, that we started with only 1 teacher, but now we have 32 teachers. We are not from same background, but and we don't have same interest, but we have some common ideas, some common interests, some common thing which lead us to run this school. I think this is our strength, and maybe you know some of our faculty member, they are showing their work at Dhaka Art Summit this time. One of our friend named Habiba Noroz, she is showing her work on women identity. Our friend and colleague Mune Moasif, he is working on Rohingya, and I am showing one of my work with garment workers. So we are talking about different things, but under the same umbrella. I think this is our strength. But when we talk about Pathshala, I think it's not only about classes, how we take class, how much we are close, how the building look like, we take classes under the trees or not. It's not only about school, about a building, about an institute. It's more than this, I think. So here we try to make some common ideas, and we also try to make a school which encourage students to raise some question about society, about their life. And photography can be a tool of social change. So we work in this way. I can show some of our photos from Pathshala. Now we are going to a new building. This is a mango tree. Sometimes we say it's like a banyan tree. And in new building we will not get it, but we have some memories about this. And Pathshala is the first photography school in South Asia, and Pathshala is a wing of DRIC, which is a picture library. And Pathshala and DRIC, they usually organize an international photo festival after 2 years. And this is also very important for South Asia. Now I want to share a few other things about my experience with Pathshala, within Pathshala, and some other experience with working with some collectives. We have some good experience, some critical experience also. So I want to share both of these things. I was a student of Pathshala. Now I'm a member of, I'm a faculty member. I teach at Pathshala. I started photography with documenting garment workers' life and struggle for last 12 years. So from as a ex-Pathshala student, as a faculty member, and as an a freelance photographer who is documenting on garment workers' life. Through this perspective, I want to share few things about the forms, language of collective. In 2013, in our country, there is a factory collapse and more than 1,000 garment workers died. And I have started documenting their life not on that year. I started work on 2008, and that time I tried to follow their daily life like all human beings. They are not only victim. So they have dream, they have family, they have hope like all of us. So I tried to follow their daily life, their struggle and strength when I was a student of Pathshala, because I have to submit a year-long project. Through my lens, through photography, I get connection with garment workers, and I never feel that I am the rescuer. I am telling their story, because maybe you know that garment workers, they contribute the 80% foreign export for our country, and they play a great role in our economy. So it's not about, when I talk about their life, their wage, their safety issue, it's not about only their issue, it's about our issue also. Because as a citizen, I feel a relation and connection with garment workers, and 80% garment workers are women, and more than 4 million workers are working in this sector. So when Rana Plaza collapse happened, more than 1,000 workers died. That time, that situation really shocked all of us, and we were not in a normal situation, because all media, they were showing the news, they were showing the live thing was going on when the rescuer trying to rescue people, people are dying, someone thinking they maybe survive. So whole thing make all of us in a puzzle situation, and it's a very painful experience for all of us. But as a member of a photography community, we tried to follow these things, and we tried to document what happened. And when the first anniversary of Rana Plaza collapse, that time we share our feelings. Who took photograph inside Rana Plaza, who collect some information from Rana Plaza, who wrote on Rana Plaza. We tried to share each other what's going on, what is the situation about our garment workers. So some of our friends who are not a photographer, but they are working in different sector of art and culture, they also interested to do something, to make aware Bangladeshi people and also make aware the international consumers. So this cause united us, and we make organize an exhibition named 1134. That time, when just 1 year past, we got the information that death toll is 1134, but it's increased. So we give a name of our exhibition 1134, and not only photographer from Pathshala, photographer from other side, from newspaper, artist, singer, performer, all of we come together and we feel connection with the cause after the death of 1,000 people. Because sometimes our owners say that we are learning because this sector is very new. But after death of 1,000 people, they are learning, and after death of 1,000 people, we feel courage to do something to make aware people and to understand the situation of our people's life condition. So many artists from Britto, from Pathshala, from Shomogit, different cultural groups from Bangladesh, we organized this 1134. This is a performing art. And after that, after 5 years of Rana Plaza collapse, we started another project, and I'm also a member of a workers' rights organization. From that organization, on 5th anniversary of Rana Plaza collapse, we thought we should make something different to make the day memorable and to make the day very special for Bangladeshi people and workers also. Then we made a quilt project, memorial quilt project, with family members of dead workers, and they stitch different small quilts and make a big quilts and make the quilt project. And this is the quilt project. And we think that artwork is very much we think that art is something creative. Creative people can do this, but I think every human being is unique and they express themselves in a creative way. But we middle class get the scope to control or to get the different medium to express ourselves in a different way, which we call maybe art. We here in this quilt we put two things. One, the slogan. The slogan is remember the dead and fight for the living. And we put the organization name Bangladesh Garment Workers Solidarity intentionally because we think that the working class people, they cannot make any artwork. They cannot express themselves in a creative way. So we thought that it is important to share our experience with our friends and people. That's why we intentionally give the name of the workers' organization. This is another form of practicing collective. And okay, I just finish within 2 minutes. I think this is important. Now I want to share another thing which experience is very critical. I shared few things about some good experience, about Pathshala, about garment workers, about solidarity. But now in a country where we live, we are in a very critical political situation. So we cannot express ourselves all the time without fear. So we live in a fear. When Shohidul arrested, that time we tried to do some protest, show our anger within Pathshala, but we want to make solidarity with the other art group and community. But it was very difficult because when you show your empathy for a dead person, maybe it's easy. But when you do something in a present situation, in a critical situation, when you cannot talk properly, you cannot breathe properly, it is very difficult. So sometimes it is easy, or sometimes collective give us strength. Sometimes when we cannot do collectively, we feel that we are alone. So I always feel the urgency of collective, and I think we should talk and share about how we can go through this. Thank you, everybody.
My name is Ismail. Hello, everyone. I come from Jatiwangi, and I come here with my friend. There is Teddy also there, and there is Ijan, and there is Bowo. So we come 4 people here in Dhaka. Yeah, it's always hard to define what is Jatiwangi Art Factory actually. So I try to present first with my favorite food. Maybe it makes me more easier. This is gado-gado. Gado-gado is a mixed food, lot of food inside, and sometimes randomly just put food there and then put the peanut sauce, and it's eating. So yeah, and yeah, that's why we never start the conversation with, especially with our neighborhood, because like we are art collective, because it's hard for us to, will be awkward for us to talk in that way, because yeah, we grow together in one village. So maybe our neighborhood will be strange. Art collective, what is this? Art collective. So yeah, so, yeah, basically, so people know us as a family who live in the same village in Jatiwangi, in West Java. Yeah, this is our mother house, who give their house to we do some activity, and yeah, sometimes people also see us as a roof tile factory, because our places is have a roof tile factory, but now bankrupt, because the one who run love gambling, so the roof tile factory bankrupt. And or sometimes people also knowing us as a gangster, because one of our founder, the second son of the mother, is that one is really a gangster. Like people afraid of him, or maybe respect at the same time also, but that's make us more easier to make a local connection. And now he love to do motorcycle, and then beside him there is a mayor, also part of the gangster maybe, the mayor of our city. Or sometimes we just a bunch of people who hang out together, and yeah, or hiding from camouflage as a jobless in the village. Yeah, so maybe Jav also is a gado-gado, random, but I think for us is delicious. At least for us, it's delicious. Then, yeah, but this randomness, yeah, make us become more organic and dynamic, and never, yeah, it's hard also to find a certain methodology, because we facing our daily life situation, like our everyday life, in very different situation. For example, like in Jatiwangi is a roof tile production, very well known since 1905, because there is also a Dutch sugar factory there. One of the first roof tile production is for the sugar house, for the sugar factory, the house for sugar factory. Then, yeah, at the 70s, the New Order era, policy make a lot of demands of the roof tile, because they have a public housing loans. So for Jatiwangi, like making roof tile is like making money, like. And then from that, Jatiwangi economy becomes stronger. Than we like our airport, our first airport, the biggest one is the roof tile is from Jatiwangi. Maybe mostly of the house in Indonesia is the roof tile is from Jatiwangi. So Jatiwangi have a golden era, and of happen things in that era. Like for example, because lot of demand, so lots of new kings. I said like because suddenly rich people come out and they lovely gambling with the $100,000 chicken fighting or married again and have a lot of wife and or make a gambling if there is a village election and is this era also is like a Ruftal broker dynasty also. So yeah, in that situation, JAF is founded on 2005. It's precisely 100 years after the first Ruftal made in Jatiwangi. It's something. And yeah, so we try to see this as yeah, what we do is actually only like make excitement together or making a shocking, like suddenly there is our friend Japanese performance, make a performance in the front of the Ruftal factory, because at this time for us it's important to limber the Ruftal tension, like the Ruftal industry tension, to limber, to make more relaxed, to not too ambitious to producing Ruftal, but yeah, or offering a new alternative daily life, another alternative of daily life. But then, yeah, people of course confused what he's doing. So, but then people starting to come to us and make a conversation, or then we try to romanticize maybe what Marina thought about being in common at that time is important, and so that's why we make instrument from the soil, same soil that made for roof tile, and we made song together in the village, etc. Like very romantic. But then, yeah, so we invite a lot of our friends to make excitement together in the village, and then. But then the situation changing, like roof tile getting declining, and then there is quite a big changing situation because our village or our district Jatiwangi like plan into become a new industrial era in the West Java, and the government built the highway really passing through our village, and then the big international airport also, and then they invite a lot of investors to come to Jatiwangi to invest in the garment and the textile, maybe same like here. So yeah, now people also doing excitement together in the textile factory. So creating happiness together at this point not really contextual again with our situation, because maybe too much happiness also boring. And so yeah, because people also happy in this changing situation, and then because they see this as a new opportunity to gain a lot of money, or to become as a new economy. So people, our neighborhood mostly celebrating this new situation, like working in this is the Nike factory, like on maybe like 1 kilo from our places. Like they can have a worker until 15,000 people. So now we try to raise again the roof tile, because so we made a roof tile bodybuilding contest for the roof tile worker. So at least roof tile declining, but we're still proud to as a roof tile dynasty. And also because a lot of investor come, so but we never know who is the investor. So when we had a chance to become part of the biannual in the Taiwan, so we proposed we want to meet with the investor, because mostly of the investor who come to Jatiwangi is from Taiwan and from Korea. So we propose a business meeting. So we make negotiation directly with the investor. If you want to invest, you must invest in this way, something kind of that. And yeah, we also made a new ritual in this land, because Jatiwangi is very industrial era, so we didn't have any strong tradition. So yeah, maybe we can make a new tradition, like make a new ritual in the farming. So we praying this land before planting, and make a sacred land, hopefully, and yeah, and also we make a new ritual for the roof tile. So blessing the soil, made a new ritual also. Even though like after that, why we do this? But yeah, we also kind of creating new myth, like we make a specific roof tile for the inspiring people in the village. So if you come to Jatiwangi and see there is a house with this kind of roof tile, you must knocking the door because he's the inspiring one, and we do this every year. Sometimes make a bilateral agreement. Yeah, this is also with the West Yorkshire, and because in our village there is one area who have a conflict with the Indonesian Air Force, so we try to reclaim that land with make a museum about the history of that land that is belong to the to us as people who live in that village. And yeah, this not fixed methodology, I think it's help us to create more fluid collaboration, and the most important is share the responsibility over our community future. And also we not limited the form in the social practice, but also kind of more like exhibition, because it's more easier to us to talk with the government in this kind of way. And then it's true, because after this is the governor with the blue shirt. After this, the governor sign what we are want to make Jatiwangi as a terracotta city. So it's sometimes that form it's more easy to talking with the government. And yeah, and the climax moment for us actually happened in 2018 when 11,000 people like sitting or not, yeah, like standing together, ringing our soil, ringing our roof tile into one orchestra. And at that time, for me, at least I feel like we are connecting to as a big family, like one big family. And yeah, I think this dynamic form or dynamic ontology, I think, allow us to stretch out the art into our daily life and yeah, survive actually as a surviving tools as people who living in Jatiwangi, who always facing a different situation or changing situation. And actually, I have a video. I have still time. I think like a 1 minute video. Maybe you are interesting. See. Yeah, this is documentation from our roof tile orchestra.
Kita harus bangga menjadi orang Jatiwangi, karena kurang lebih sekitar 20 tahun yang lalu Jawa Barat, bahkan mungkin Indonesia sebagian besar gentengnya berasal dari Jatiwangi. Kita punya historis, kita punya kekuatan, dan kita bisa menegaskan bahwa Jatiwangi adalah memiliki identitas dengan budaya tanah genteng Jatiwangi.
Siapa? Mari kita mulai. Tangan di atas, semua tangan di atas, sticknya di atas, sticknya di atas, sticknya di atas semuanya.
Selamat sore masyarakat, tanah berbunyi.
Tetap di atas. 3, 2, 1.
Sorange.
sometimes why we do this, but yeah, I think. So yeah, maybe enough. Thank you very much.
Les viols perpétrés par sa milice. La sentence sera prononcée un peu plus tard, dans plusieurs semaines. Jean-Pierre Bemba risque jusqu'à 30 ans de détention ou la perpétuité. Pour ses partisans, c'est la déception, mais pour la procureure de la Cour pénale internationale, Fatou Bensouda, ce jugement marque plutôt un tournant dans l'histoire de la justice internationale.
C'est un jugement historique. Il envoie un message très fort à tous les chefs militaires de par le monde. Ils savent maintenant qu'ils sont pénalement responsables s'ils n'empêchent pas leurs soldats de commettre des crimes. De plus, cela confirme que les chefs militaires sont responsables, même si leurs soldats se trouvent dans un pays étranger. Enfin, il faut retenir que les viols commis par ces soldats ont été à la fois jugés comme un crime de guerre et comme un crime contre l'humanité. Les victimes ont attendu longtemps que justice soit faite. Aujourd'hui, je crois que ce jugement va les aider, que ce verdict va aider les victimes dans leur processus de guérison. Nous devons poursuivre nos efforts pour mettre fin à l'impunité. Nous devons continuer à enquêter sur ces crimes et à les juger jusqu'à ce qu'ils appartiennent au passé.
Le 11 mai 1973, Omar Blondin Diop, né le 18 septembre 1946, ancien élève de l'École normale supérieure de Saint-Cloud, militant actif et déterminé de la cause du peuple, est retrouvé pendu dans la cellule à la prison de Gorée, où il était détenu pour motifs politiques. Une bagarre l'avait opposé auparavant à des gardes pénitentiaires. S'était-il suicidé par pendaison ou avait-il été pendu après qu'il fût décédé? Question lancinante qui a hanté l'esprit de ses proches et d'une partie de l'opinion politique nationale et internationale, au point que le gouvernement de l'époque, qui avait admis sans plus ample procédure la thèse du suicide, se crut obligé de rédiger un livre blanc sur le suicide d'Omar Blondin Diop, imprimé par la GIA et largement diffusé à l'échelle internationale. Feu le docteur Ibrahim Blondin Diop, père de Omar, peu convaincu par les explications officielles, décida de déposer une plainte avec constitution de partie civile et choisit pour l'assister plusieurs avocats, Maître Babacar Niang, Feu le bâtonnier Fadilou Diop, Feu Maître Amidou Diop, deux avocats français de renom, Maître Kulzman et Maître Badenter, tous deux anciens ministres socialistes. C'est le président Moustapha Touré, alors doyen des juges d'instruction, qui eut à instruire le dossier après avoir recueilli et confronté les déclarations des gardes pénitentiaires de la prison de Gorée et de la prison centrale de Dakar, après avoir procédé aux faits, procédé à diverses investigations matérielles ou médico-légales, il décida d'inculper 3 gardes pénitentiaires. Il en inculpa effectivement 2 avant qu'il n'eût le temps d'inculper un 3e et d'entendre sur le fond les inculpés. Il fut brutalement dessaisi du dossier avec une ordonnance de non-lieu fut ainsi rendue par la suite le 12 juin 1975 qui mettait fin poursuites. Nous allons réexhumer le dossier. Nous reportons, si tu le veux, plainte contre l'État du Sénégal. Je te reparle. Merci.
You see? I am here. The lady in red. I'm in front of you. No, behind. Near to the man that's holding his telephone. There, do you see me? I told you I was here.
Nous sommes ici à Dhaka.
We are here in Dhaka,
Seuls pour certains,
alone for certain people,
mais nous sommes tous là,
but we are all here
avec les autres qui ne sont pas là,
with others that are not here,
que vous ne voyez pas,
that you do not see,
mais qui sont là.
but they are here.
Nous sommes ici
We're here
avec Issa Samb,
with Issa Samb,
Jibril Diop Mambeti,
Jibril Job Mambeti,
Youssouf Adion,
Yusuf Adjol.
Mamles.
Moi, je pense qu'il faut que nous commencions par transmettre à nos enfants
Okay, I think we have to start by transmitting to our kids.
Il faut qu'on commence à dire à nos enfants
We have to begin to tell our children
que les races n'existent pas
that race does not exist,
et que l'être humain a une tête,
that the human being has one head,
un corps, un
a
tronc,
body,
des bras,
arms,
des pieds,
legs,
comme un enfant le dessine naturellement.
as a child will draw it naturally.
Et si nous arrivons à cela,
If we arrive at that,
vivre ensemble va aller de soi.
living together will go naturally.
On est déjà trop vieux là.
We're already,
Certaines habitudes.
we're already too old to change certain
Mais si nous le
ways
pensons,
of being. But if we think,
si nous le vivons,
if we leave it,
nous devons le transmettre à nos enfants.
and we can transmit it to the younger ones, to our kids,
Comme on leur donne des tablettes,
as we give them a tablet,
des tablettes digitales.
a
très
digital tablet, a pad, you know,
tôt. Donc, donnons-leur cette information.
then give them that information.
Ça leur permettra demain
That will help
de ne plus réfléchir à cette situation, de ne plus penser.
so that they do not think of this kind of situation. It will help for us to live together.
Hard question. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's about how to avoid the centralism or something. Or
Yeah, and how to somehow create a translocal, like network that might fight this centralism. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we just thinking in a simple way, like we inviting our friend from the city to come to our village, or to have another network, like for example, like from almost like 100 years, Jatiwangi only have a network with the roof tile broker, a consumer, and etc. So now there is artists come, and there is designer come, there is etc. come, like more lot of friend come. So then we can, I think then we can discuss more thing, and now also interesting because now, for example, like in Jatiwangi, mostly people after high school going to Jakarta to working in the factory, modern factory, textile, etc. But now the factory also here, so I think the situation also now is changing, like the tension between local and global also become more near, I think, and also interesting to always consolidate in the international global tension through this kind of event. I think it's still important. I don't know if it makes sense or not. Yeah.
No, it makes sense. I mean, you're talking about gaining international agency for the local to make a difference. Well, these are all, the answers are bumping in my head. The panel, I mean, the question you posed in the very beginning is, what could it be an aesthetical form of the collective if there is a possibility or a blessed impossibility about an aesthetical form of a collective? But through the presentations and by us being here around this non-table, it feels to me that the void, non-void, is becoming more and more, from your talks, this kind of aesthetical form of the collective. The way Pascal evoked the spirits of the non-living, but living at the same time, even if he says that we have to pass to the kids, we are here and we will be passing to the kids. The way you talk about being alone among 1,000 people, but also sometimes being in an empty room full of company, and the way you speak about your mother's house as the point of gathering, it seems to me that this void, in Greek we would call it methexis, it's a kind of communication that it's happening in the middle, can be this kind of aesthetical form of a collectivity. Is there any point that you want to make, or we open in this remark to the public?
C'est toujours pour parler de la transmission.
I'm translating, so it's a thing. It's still to continue to talk about the transmission.
Au laboratoire Agit'Art, notre dernière action était d'aller voir des enfants et de questionner leur rapport à l'art dans un milieu où ils n'ont pas accès.
Okay.
Dans lequel ils n'ont pas accès.
The last meeting or the last thing that Agit'Art did was to meet with children and to be able to meet with them to discuss about art and their position within that.
Parce qu'ils sont déjà dans des milieux où les parents ne leur parlent pas d'art.
They're already in a situation where the family does not talk to them about art.
Et en même temps, l'école où ils vont, l'école publique, ne leur propose aucune alternative, ne leur parle pas d'art.
And the schools that they go to do not propose to them other alternatives and does not talk about art.
Et donc, forcément, quand ils vont grandir,
so of course, when they're going to grow up,
ils seront décalés.
They'll be completely destabilized or disconnected.
Donc, je prends cet exemple pour dire en fait que pour tout le reste,
so I'm taking this example to say that for all the rest,
il faut que les collectifs retournent aussi vers ce tout petit.
The collective has to go back and go to the young ones, the little ones.
Un peu comme les politiciens font avec le peuple.
As the same way as the politicians do with the people.
Quand ils ont besoin du peuple pour voter pour eux, ils vont les voir.
When they need people to vote for them, they go to the people.
Et si nous voulons que nos enfants votent pour le collectif demain, allons vers eux.
If we want for the young ones to vote for the collective in the future, we have to go to them now.
And I guess you mean allow them space to grow themselves as well within this information that we're going to pass to them. Anyway, I think it's time to open to the public for any remarks or questions or worries that you want to share with us. Anyone? Oh.
It's fine, it's fine. So thank you very much for your presentations. I'm really interested, Pascal, in the collective of making what you read. Louder. I'm very interested, Pascal, in to know how the collective, or if the collective process or individual process of doing this piece of cloth that you just read to us, how was the process of doing? Because I believe it has an individual part, but also a collective part. And another question is the last piece about fragmented memory. I'm wondering how collectives needs this fragmentation too. So I don't know if it's possible for you to talk, or for you all to talk about this, because the way that I think a collective is not that it needs to have in account the temporality of it and the space of it. So the timeline and the space, they are also fragmented. So I was wondering how this intellectual or memory, fragmented memory can play a role on this, the way we think collectively.
Alors, la première question, c'était à moi, c'est ça. Alors, pour ce travail,
For this work,
la place du collectif
the place of the collective,
est en moi.
it's inside, it's here.
Et en venant ici,
So coming here,
les autres membres du collectif savent que je suis là.
the other members of the collective know that he's here.
Tout ce qu'ils savent, tout ce que vous savez aujourd'hui, ce que vous avez vu,
All what you know today and what you've seen now,
ils ne le savent pas.
they don't know.
Ils le sauront après vous.
They will know after you.
Parce que je parle en leur nom.
Because he's talking under their name.
Ils m'ont donné la parole pour parler en leur nom.
They gave him the possibility and the to be able to use the words in the name of the collective.
Et après, ils l'acceptent comme il est.
And later on, they'll accept it as it is.
Et ils assument aussi.
And they have to assume. They have to.
Parce que si je ne véhicule pas l'esprit
If I don't live and be in the spirit
du collectif, du laboratoire Agit'Art,
of Laboratoire Agit'Art,
c'est que le collectif aura échoué dans sa manière de fonctionner et de transmettre.
That means that the collective would have failed in its way of transmission and its way of remitting.
Donc ce texte,
So this text,
et cette manière de le montrer,
this way of showing,
c'est l'esprit du laboratoire.
is the spirit of the laboratory.
Il y a des codes que vous avez dû voir dans le premier film qui est passé.
You must have seen a code that is in the first film that was shown.
Et donc, c'est ces mêmes codes qui reviennent parce qu'ils sont en moi.
So it's the same code that comes back because it's in him.
Merci.
Thank you.
Sorry, can you repeat again? So,
I can explain to you. I mean, she asked that this fragmentation of time and space within the collective, that it's something that is happening as an experience between all of you, how it affects the person.
No, how we can be collective, third collective, is a third of fragmented time and space. Because I think that time can be fragmented.
Okay.
Within the space, how can we
Yeah. You understand?
I try.
The place and time.
Yeah.
Well, if you want.
Yeah, if you want, you can.
If you want to answer?
Do you want to talk about it?
No, of course. I think it's a brilliant question. But it's predicated on the fact that you're stating as a fact that time and space are fragmented, which is already a preconception. So maybe the point is to imagine that time and space are not fragmented, but they are folded. When you, like le pli, I mean, if you fold time and space, things that are very far, they are very close. So it's not a fragmented, it's a folded question. No?
Yes, and I would only add to this that in terms of time, because this is far and together.
Well, they're not separate. Time and
Yes,
space are not
yes,
separate.
no, but in terms of time, I would add something. We had two presentations that they refer to a kind of a continuum. It starts by somebody that it's not already here, but is very much alive here. So life and death to this, it's a continuum. Life is not as
Can
fragmented.
I add just one thing? It's just very personal, but I wanted to say that when this man, Pascal, speaks about the collective that speaks through him, I found it very beautiful, because when he was doing this, it came back to me, you know? Issa Samb, when he was in Kassel, under the tree in front of Orangerie, for months and months and months, he brought the whole collective was there in Kassel, but I had forgotten. It's been how many years? 2000, much, 15 years, 8 years, I don't know how many years. Anyway, it's been many, many years. And today, for the first time, I remember Issa Sam hanging cloth from the tree. And so he was here. So this thing you said is, it happens. And I think, in my opinion, the question of the individual in relationship to the collective is crucial in the future, because now we are in a paradigmatic shift which has occurred, where industry and capital has taken over the question of the collective with artificial intelligence and the idea of a networked society, which takes away the agency of the single very much. So it's different from 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So I think this vision of the shamanistic, let's say, this vision, it's not necessarily the word, but this vision of well, that the collective can speak through anyone's voice, you know, through a plant's voice or a person, or it doesn't have to be a group of people together in every moment. If one can arrive at that, there's a form of liberation that's possible in the 21st century. Otherwise, I think it's a very dangerous situation. And this moment of ideologization of the collective can bring us to really a kind of passivity and disempowerment in an era where capital has taken over as a value the idea of shared knowledge.
I just want to add something. I don't know it's connecting with the question or not, but sometimes when we are inviting to different space, like for different time and space, like to a foreign country or to like this kind of event, sometimes when we come back to Jatiwangi, like what we do here, for example, in Dhaka, is not really important. I mean, doesn't look cool for our neighborhood. So sometimes that kind of tension, it's always be our come up to our mind, like we invite in the biennial or something, but when it comes, what is biennial, it's not really important to Jatiwangi. And then I really also interesting, because for example what we do in sometimes when we inviting for some exhibition or something, what we do in Jatiwangi also sometimes it's hard to how we can present what already happened in our context into another context. I think I just add, maybe it's connected or not, I don't know.
Is there some other urgent question?
It is not necessary to all collective be here. Anyone can express from collective perspective. I think it is very important, because when we make any kind of art project or anything, we think that we made it by our own self. We never, most of the time we don't give any recognition that when we take a photograph, we think a subject and object relationship between the partner. When we take photograph of workers, or maybe I can take photograph of my family, I think I am the creator. I am the authority. I am doing all things. He or she is nobody. So I think these things also very much important to think about the collectiveness, because when we think that we are I am the authority and other person is nobody, then somehow we deny or we just reject the people surrounding us who make us. And 2 years ago, I wrote a small article, and I named that article like my just life partner. And I mentioned 3 persons' names as my partner, and they are not that much successful women. I wrote that article on 8th March. And they are garment workers, and when I wrote that and mentioning them as my life partner, that editor or some other from the daily newspaper, they were saying that how you define partner or life partner, because usually we know about life partner is someone who live life or like husband, wife, like this thing. So how you define partner or a life partner? So I think this thing very important to think about collectiveness, about how we create ourselves, how we respond in our existence.
I think we had this discussion in the morning, and I think it's a very important point that collectivity doesn't restrict itself to the people we work together. So I would say that, I mean, I'm thinking very much what you said, Caroline, but I would say also that at the same time that collective is not exactly a dangerous position to be right now. Because collective, I thought that you were saying that it can be dangerous.
No.
I said that it can be. It can be.
Elle peut être dangereuse.
I'm answering to this, yeah. It can be. So I think it cannot be so much because a collective or collectivities or communities, like for example indigenous communities in different regions, undo the artificial intelligence because they confuse the data. Let me, yeah, it depends of course on how you define it. So the definition of you as an entity, even a single entity that do artwork, is a collective because you're working with the workers, because you're working. I think it's a definition. The same way that people that are right now in the Brexit and are demanding another kind of identity, although some other people define. Also the way that Pascal said about speaking with the trust of his collective, not necessarily as an agreement or after having informed them, but with the trust he gained of this, the agency of his collective.
Je voulais revenir sur la question du temps, parce qu'elle avait parlé du temps de fracture, de temps fracturé, et je pense que c'est le dernier film qui a fait penser ça.
He would like to come back to the idea of time and the question that was put out with regards to the fractured memory.
Ben c'est plutôt la mémoire fracturée, pas la mémoire en tant que temps ou espace, mais en tant que héritage.
Okay, so the memory is not in relation to time or space, but the memory is in relation to the heritage.
Parce que cette discussion est venue de la mémoire fracturée, c'est un manifeste qui a été écrit par le laboratoire Agit'Art.
So the mémoire fracturée was something written by the Laboratoire Agit'Art.
En 1999 à Anvers.
Oh, in Antwerp. Okay, in 99.
1999.
Okay, 1999 in Antwerp, in Belgium.
Et ils ont écrit ce manifeste parce que le chercheur Cheikh Anta Diop, qui était mort, avait vu son laboratoire, le laboratoire Carbone 14 de l'université Cheikh Anta Diop, qui porte son nom.
Okay, they wrote this manifest because they saw that Anta Sheikh Diop, who had his laboratory Carbon 14.
Yes, à l'université de Dakar.
In the University of Dakar.
Avait été saccagé après sa mort.
Was destroyed, let's say saccagé, like destroyed, yeah.
Après sa mort.
After his death.
Et donc le laboratoire qui avait été invité à cette manifestation à Anvers.
So the laboratory they were invited to this manifestation in Antwerp.
Avait écrit ce manifeste pour plaider, pour poser le problème de l'art et de la science. Comment on peut dire, comment l'art et la science cohabitent.
So they wrote this manifestation to be able to put out the question of how art and science coexist together.
Et c'est comme ça qu'ils ont écrit ce manifeste pour défendre. Et après leur manifeste, ce laboratoire a reçu des financements et il a été réhabilité, il a été remis à neuf.
So after they did the manifestation, they also received money, and the laboratoire was then rehabilitated, and they could continue working.
Et donc, ce petit film, on tient à lui parce que il pose le problème du laboratoire, de la manière de fonctionner du laboratoire.
So they're really into the film and the showing of this film because it really poses the question of the existence of the laboratoire.
Yes, because in the laboratoire, if you remember, they are discussing about their laboratoire, how it's become. And the laboratoire, there are many workshops like this where they can... Oh.
Sweetheart, it's okay. I'm happy to take over. Anybody needs French?
You inspired me.
Anybody needs French? So, I'll do it in French.
Voilà. Il y a beaucoup de discussions comme ça autour de plusieurs sujets.
There are many discussions around this subject.
Yes. Donc, ils n'hésitent pas à se dire les choses.
They don't hesitate to say things.
À se re-questionner.
To re-question.
Et donc, voilà, c'est pour ça qu'ils ont reposé la question. Est-ce que la mémoire du laboratoire aussi n'est pas fracturée?
That's why they asked the question, that isn't the memory of the laboratoire fractured?
Est-ce que vous devez savoir, l'espace du laboratoire Agit'Art a été détruit après ces discussions. Aujourd'hui, c'est un terrain vide.
So you have to know that the space of the Laboratoire Agit'Art has been destroyed. It's now an empty space.
On n'a pas vu toutes les images, mais elles étaient à la fin. Vous auriez pu voir.
You didn't see all the images. It was at the end.
Ils ont même coupé les arbres.
They've even cut down the trees.
C'est devenu un espace vide.
It's become an empty space.
Et ce vide est en train d'être réoccupé par les racines de ces arbres qui repoussent.
And the emptiness is being reoccupied by the roots and the trees that are growing out from the space.
Yes. Is there another question? That will be the last question.
Merci. Merci beaucoup. Bon, je vous salue tous. Je suis venu un peu en retard. Mais c'est pour renforcer ce que mon fils vient de dire.
Okay, thank you everyone. I arrived late, but it's to reinforce what my son has just said.
Et je salue chaleureusement tous les présents et.
So I'm greeting warmly everybody here.
Voilà, ce que le fiston a dit par le mot collectif en Afrique, nous c'est dans nos cultures.
Okay, what my son has said is that the word collective in Africa is another thing.
C'est pour vous dire
it's in our culture.
C'est pour vous dire qu'en Afrique on ne dit jamais je vous présente ma femme.
Like in Africa, we don't say, here, I will present you my wife.
Ou je vous présente mon enfant.
Or I'll present you my child.
Voilà, on dit notre enfant.
They will say, my child,
notre femme.
Our child, our wife.
C'est pour dire que voilà, le mot collectif chez nous, nous sommes nés avec.
We are born with it, the word collective.
Malheureusement, après la colonisation et puis par exemple la création des pays.
unfortunately, after the colonization and the creation of nation states,
Un Africain ne connaît pas de frontières.
An African does not know frontier.
Alors maintenant, nous faisons on peut faire la différence entre un Africain de village et un Africain qui était en ville, qui était à l'école coloniale.
So we can make a difference between an African that is in a village or an African that is in an urban space. Yeah.
Là, il va se présenter, il va dire que moi je suis malien, je suis sénégalais, mais ça c'est une notion occidentale.
And so today they will present themselves, I'm a Malian, I'm a Senegalese, but that's a Western way of like thinking.
Sinon, quand on demande à un Africain, il va se représenter par rapport à son collectif. Touré, Jakite, Jara, Njai, ou Jata,
so
etc.
normally,
ça c'est le groupe.
So normally, when you'd ask an African where he's from, or he would be able to talk about where. He would be able to talk about the collective that represents him, like Toure, Diabate, the family name, because the family name is the collective.
I mean, this is kind of interesting what you're saying, because we started by saying, like you talked about the colonizer that came and somehow confronted. We talked about the way of leading the people by divide and rule. And, you know, I mean, in Africa, the missionaries did a good job there, together with many other people. Any remarks from here, or we're okay? I think that after this symbiosis, tolerance discussion, we have to thank Raw Material Company for your radical hospitality.
Merci.
And the panel. And Otto Bongaga.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So thank you so much.
And more than anything, all of you, that you bear with us, and you're still here, and we're still talking. So stay.
And you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Tess.
Thank you very much, Marina. Thank you, Ismail. Thank you, Taslima, Pascal, Otobong. Thank you. All of you for being here. Tomorrow we continue and we'll be starting with thinking about making collective history. So we've already been imagining today and talking about how the history is present in the present. So I'm really looking forward to those discussions carrying on tomorrow. We begin the day with a film called Herbi du Jer, which means the fight isn't over in Wolof. And it's a film that was done with Sewing Somankidikora Collective from Mali and Kaddu Yarak, a forum theatre collective from Senegal. So we'll be starting with that at 10 a.m. in the auditorium. So if you come here, it'll be empty. You can do cartwheels, but there won't be anything else happening. So it's upstairs in the auditorium, and then we'll come down here to do the panel on making collective history. And then in the afternoon, we'll be looking at collective economies in financial and relational senses of the term. So thank you very much for joining us. Thank you so much for your patience as well with the sound. We hope to improve it for tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.